Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Inspire Hub podcast. My name is Jefferson Kapasa. Today we're speaking to Boniface Mukopa, the first visually impaired student to graduate from the University of Zambia from the Department of Media and Communication Studies. Boniface, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, and I'm very much delighted to appear on this platform.
Definitely, we're happy to have you too. And to start, our conversation, I'm aware that you were not born visually impaired. Take us back to the time your life changed. What happened?
Thank you so much. As nature would have it, obviously, God had better plans as well for me in my life, such that He appointed, obviously, my parents, Mr. Boniface Mukopa and Miss Mary Kawe, to be obviously vessels through which I could be born into this world and obviously play a part in glorifying God's name and kingdom. So I was born in 1999 on 12th August, without a disability, not until the age of 6 to 7 years thereabout, when I became completely or totally blind. It so happened that on a certain day in the evening, between 2003 and 2004, I experienced signs or symptoms of malaria, which intensified that night to an extent that in the morning I suddenly experienced rashes on my body. I was rushed to the clinic, and it was seemingly discovered that it was measles. So in other way, it was measles which led to my blindness. And no sooner had measles been treated than I started facing or experiencing sight challenges, which, notwithstanding the efforts that were made to treat it, I became blind, unfortunately, in 2005, by the end of 2005, and was confirmed so by the doctors or eye specialists at Chawama Eye Hospital in Lusaka in 2006. Of course, after that, they had to make some recommendations for me to go to school, which was made possible obviously by inventions such as the Braille, which is the system of writing which uses raised dots for somebody who is visually impaired to feel and be able to detect what is written from there. So as well as the screen readers or speech softwares which are able to enable a blind person to operate a computer so that they are able to acquire education. So those were recommendations. So just a brief background as to how I became blind.
Now, at 7, you were very young and you probably had met some friends in the neighborhood. You would play, you could go to the next door and, just have, fun as a child would have. Now, when you had this change happen to you, how did it affect you now that, you could no longer do, some things, that you used to do with your friends when you had your full eyesight? So tell us, how did this change affect you?
It affected me to a great extent, in the sense that some of the things that I could do, it could be playing, because I used to play football, so I was unable to do that the moment I became blind. So it was sort of a total shift of how I could do things or my perspective about life. But this was partly due to maybe little information that was available insofar as how a person with blindness could navigate life. And especially that my parents, it was the first time also for them to have a child who has a disability in form of visual impairment. So, but as time went by, means and ways were identified and found, obviously, through consultations and interactions with other persons with disabilities who were able to cope with life. So basically, to some extent, it affected my approach to life, the way I could interact with friends. But after catching up, then I reverted. It became like a normal life.
All right. And I like how you say it became a normal life. And now in that process, did you grieve your old life? How did you process, that loss of not being able to
Precise.
fall?
Exactly. So it takes time, but when you are a child, it's the length of you adapting to the environment may not be longer compared to maybe an adult who loses their sight and they are having it difficult to cope. Yeah, so as a child, it was easy to adapt, but obviously I had some regrets. But the moment I was run through, the moment I started interacting with other persons with disabilities, the moment I was taken to school, things started becoming normal, and we could even interact with those friends who were in the compound. We used to be friends some time back. Obviously, we started interacting as it were. So, in other words, they also had to adapt to my situation, know how they could treat me. If it is playing football, obviously, though not the serious note, but whereby you are just playing. Sometimes they could put you as a blind goalkeeper. Yeah, you play. Sometimes you play blind football such that they are also blindfolded, sort of to accommodate me as well. So there were such efforts which were made, and we could play in different ways so as to accommodate me. Yeah. So, but especially when I went to Ndola Lions, a school for visually impaired persons, I realized there was a lot of talent insofar as the music is concerned, insofar as even sports. Take, for example, blind football. That was the first time I came across what we call go ball. It has rings inside, and then you roll the ball on the ground. There is maybe the team on one side and the other team on. Once the ball crosses the line, then you would have scored. So I wasn't true exactly by football. Yeah, so which uses a go ball. So it's a heavy ball, definitely. Yeah, so I learned how to throw go ball.
Now, Boniface, being the first visually impaired student to graduate from the Department of Media and Communication Studies from the University of Zambia is historic. What did that moment personally mean for you?
It was a dream come true, in the sense that when I was just a child, I had this tendency of maybe collecting information, then you present it to your fellow. It could be within a room, because I went into boarding school since grade 1. So we could collect information and share with friends, share with others, those who were interested in some of those stories. So it started from there. Little did I know that is what partly constituted journalism. And the moment I finished grade 12, I said to my parents that I wanted to pursue journalism, but they were not sure of how possible that was going to be. In an effort to get more information, I approached Professor Elijah Ngwade, and we started discussing, contemplating, figuring out the means of making that possible. Then we made efforts, my parents, with Professor Elijah Ngwade, to go to the University of Zambia in order to inquire of the possibilities of being enrolled in the School of Media and Communication. And we found that it was definitely possible, and they were of the idea that definitely I could be enrolled in the Department of Media and Communication. That's how I applied for media and journalism. And having fulfilled that dream, it has brought satisfaction, and that has opened doors for many to also pursue the same career or profession. And also many doors have been opened for other programs of study. You may wish to know that the University of Zambia has opened doors within the School of Humanities, the School of Education, even Natural Science and School of Medicine. We do have people with different disabilities being able to pursue programs of their choice, which was not the case some time back.
All right. Now, what inspired you to pursue media and journalism? Being in your situation, what still gave you the courage and the confidence? Because media and journalism, these are largely very visual fields. What gave you the confidence to say, I'm still gonna go for this, despite being in the situation that you are in?
Firstly, I used to watch TV before I became blind. I liked TV and all that. And I was interested in some of the personalities on TV. And after I became blind, I sort of shifted slightly my attention to radio, in the sense that I was so much interested in collecting that information, how they could present. So that sparked interest in me further to continue with the same dream and vision of maybe becoming a journalist one day. And this is in a bid to contribute to development in society through collection and dissemination of information. So basically that is what drove me to pursue media and communication. I thought maybe even with my visual impairment, I could be in one way or the other be able to change perception of society towards persons with disabilities through journalism, because journalism plays a critical role insofar as the development of society is concerned. So that was one of the motivating factors, besides, of course, being interested in how journalists could present themselves.
Now tell us, who are some of your favorite, personalities in the media, growing up? Skipper, did you fancy?
Yeah, definitely. I may not remember exactly which ones I was eyeing, but in general, I liked just the nature of the job itself and how journalists could present themselves, if it is on TV or if it is on radio, when there are events, the way they could run and dig deeper into some of the issues that were happening, where they need clarification, so on and so forth, to an extent that you are informing the masses so that they know which decisions to make at the end of the day. So definitely that is what motivated me. Maybe until when I discovered that British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, had also journalists. I think they still have journalists with visual impairment. One of them is the Washington correspondent, Gary O'Donoghue, and many others. Yeah, so I was motivated further that this is possible to pursue. But another thing was, if I was not going to be the first one or to give it a try, who else then was going to change the narrative? Because not until one brings an idea, there will only be one way of thinking, and not until maybe that barrier is broken, we'll always have that attitude that this is impossible. Not until it is made possible, it is impossible.
Definitely. I like that. Now today you're working for the national broadcaster. How does it feel to be living the dream that others could have felt was impossible?
It is a motivation and quite empowering and motivating to others, because having given this opportunity, which I do not take lightly, but I will endeavor to commit myself to the work itself and see how I can contribute positively to society. That has given me that opportunity to interact with various personalities, to understand the situation in society, challenges that people are facing, and see how we can resolve some of those challenges through the stories that we write, and also through the interactions and many channels that have been opened, which were practically impossible, but through media you're able to reach out to a number of different stakeholders within society. So it is a great privilege, and that has also motivated many other people to see a person with visual impaired, maybe in the media, being given that visibility. It goes a long way in changing the attitude of society towards persons with disabilities, because then society will begin to think this is possible. Then society will begin to think what challenges or what barriers have we put in place or in the way of these persons with disabilities, and they'll begin to think of how best we can remove those barriers. So it is a reflection of maybe lack of development in society, and that we need to do more. So it is quite an honor, and definitely ZNBC, they are doing the most insofar as inclusivity is concerned, because even in the programming itself, you're able to see disability issues or issues of persons with disabilities being discussed, persons with disabilities being covered in different ways, so as to enable them to contribute positively to society. Because inclusivity, you may wish to understand, speaks to excellency, speaks to comprehensiveness. There is power in inclusivity, as we say there is power in unity. So unity is incorporated even in inclusivity, where you bring in people with different abilities, and it brings in that beauty of the society, so that everyone feels part and parcel of that society, and together we can reach high heights, definitely, insofar as development is concerned.
What do you think are some of the barriers, or what do you think are rather some of the myths that people have about people that are living with visual impairment?
And maybe just to broaden it insofar as disability in general, society has it that disability is linked to curses. So if a family has a person with a disability, then obviously parents or it could be ancestors must have done something wrong, which necessitated the case to be pronounced on that family or that individual. And it may not happen to that particular individual committed that, but maybe to the third or fourth generation of him or her. So those notions are there. And if you look at even the Bible, where they link maybe disability or it could be blindness to some of the negatives, obviously people begin to conclude and interpret that maybe persons with disabilities that are not even complete or definitely sort of not to present a blemish before the altar, or maybe you present something to God. Obviously they could even bar somebody who has a disability. It could be in the temple, and so far as when you read Leviticus. So some of those notions have been entrenched in society and have contributed to confining persons with disabilities to sort of a secluded place in society where they are unable to be exposed to the rest of the individuals in society. So they start isolation. But another barrier or myth is that maybe persons with disabilities, they may not progress maybe to a certain level. Obviously, there are disability categories, but once we look at what are some of the factors leading to persons with disabilities not exceeding, because we understand that disability can actually be eradicated. What constitutes disability is the impairment that a person has in interaction with the environment. So take, for example, I am visually impaired. That is a sensory impairment. And obviously, how does this become a disability? It only becomes a disability once the environment in which I am is not enabling me to actively participate or indeed contribute on an equal basis with others. So, but once that barrier is removed, then there will be no disability to talk about. There will only be that impairment, which obviously only my body is affected. But once that environment is made in such a way that a person with a particular impairment, they are able to navigate, they are able to do or contribute just like any other individual, then disability ceases or it will no longer be there. So disability, in other words, it is eradicable, and we can eradicate disability, and we can live in a society which is disability friendly or disability free. And obviously those are some of the notions or ideas or myths that society has, but slowly that is changing. There is change of attitude, and this is due to the efforts that have been made insofar as education is concerned, because we understand education is the equalizer, and indeed it is contributing to a great extent insofar as changing the attitude of persons with disabilities themselves and even society in general.
So how would you like your story to change the way people or society rather looks at, people that are living with, a certain category of impairment?
Mm-hmm.
How would you want your story to change how people look?
Definitely, society should look at me, should not look at my disability, but my ability. Know me for my ability and not my disability. So the moment you begin to think like that, the moment you begin to think of my potential, the moment you begin to think of what I am capable of doing and giving me that space, definitely that will go a long way insofar as empowering myself. So my story is the story of empowerment, the story of determination, the story of realizing one's dreams. It is the story of uncrushable and unstoppable life, definitely. So regardless of your disability, you should remember that you are able to survive in society, you are able to look after others as well, you are able to contribute to the development, beginning from your family, beginning also maybe from your community, and scaling it up, maybe even to the national level, and the global level at large. And this is a good opportunity. The voices, strong voices, which have for the past few years or decades, have contributed to changing the narrative so far. Talk of the University of Zambia and the people who have been educated there, definitely that is one of the critical institutions which have contributed to that. But also even schools dotted around the country, and also organizations which have come on board, they have also contributed to the changing of the narrative. But most importantly, also, it has trickled down now to the government itself, which is now trying to facilitate the change of mindset, the empowering of persons with disabilities. Once persons with disabilities are given an equal platform for them to voice out or contribute or take part in decision making, then definitely society will be able to change. Recently, obviously, just to make reference to the assenting to the Constitution, which has provided for, obviously, persons with disabilities in Parliament. That is also a good move for a start, and obviously more has to be done by persons with disabilities also coming on board. Take, for example, if it is participating even in constituency-based seats, definitely that should be the way to go. So a step further has to be made so as to ensure that a level playing field is made to accommodate more persons with disabilities to actively participate in society. Not only that, even in appointments, some of these things have been actually done, some of which were not possible some time back. Take, for example, actually we can look at the history of Zambia from 𝐾𝐶 to date. Obviously, at some point 𝐾𝐶 provided that favorable environment, despite even legislations or the constitution not being that conducive. Yeah, but he made those efforts till this time around that we've reached this far, where we now have something embedded in the constitution. So definitely we are making a step forward, and more has to be done. And this calls for persons with disabilities to actively participate, because we usually have an approach, could be a philosophy, if you wish to put it like that, that there's nothing for us without us.
All right. Thank you so much, Boniface, for appearing on this episode of the Inspire podcast. We're grateful.
So much delighted and looking forward to more conversations that will definitely contribute to changing of the narrative and ensuring inclusivity where there's excellency, comprehensiveness, and obviously power.
Well, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Inspire podcast. My name is Jefferson Kapasa. Make sure to subscribe so that we get to bring to you more conversations like this one. Thank you, and see you on the next episode.